Because of some new recent conditions that I'm living in, I don't have the very best internet, and so I'm foregoing a stream today and instead going to upload a video. Today I want to share some thoughts about the games industry, its current state, where I think this is all heading, and why I think the doomsayers about the games industry are just flat out wrong. Some of these ideas I've had for a few years, but I can now talk about them without sounding like a crazy person. Because now, more than ever, the writing is on the wall for all to see, at least as far as I'm concerned. Back in 2014, I started college to get my degree in animation and game design. At the time, the games industry was in a very different place from where it is now. In those days, we had what I would call one-and-done games, where developers would make a game, release it, and if it did well enough, they might add some DLC. If not, then they would close up shop or downsize and likely never bother with a similar project. However, while I was in college, there was a small number of games that were released that made me rethink what I thought I knew about how games could be made. Not just in terms of what I had experienced as someone who was playing games, but also as a game design student. Those games were called 7 Days to Die, Destiny, Warframe, and No Man's Sky, all of which are still being developed today, or rather, I should say, all of which are continuing to evolve to this day. You see, back in the day, the only games that actually evolved over time were MMOs, the most prominent of which was, and still is, World of Warcraft. Others included Guild Wars, EVE Online, RuneScape, and for a brief moment in time we almost had another one called Firefall. However, these days, games that evolve over time are the standard, or at least becoming the standard. Helldivers 2, which has its roots in a game called Magicka, released back in 2011, is one example. And if you've recently caught the latest expansion, No Man's Sky is another example of a game that continues to evolve. This newer way of creating and evolving games over time has also changed how people play games. Back in 2014, the latest releases were the thing to play. Now in 2025, the latest updates for games that were released 10 years ago are the thing to play. And because many of these games are now extending their playtime into the hundreds of hours, sometimes as a requirement, gamers are playing fewer new titles, and instead choosing to put their money into titles they already know they like, and that reliably deliver on a quality level they can expect. This does not mean that one-and-done games no longer have a place in the industry. I think they still do, but I would argue that in general we're likely to see fewer and fewer big-budget games that aren't games that can be evolved over time, regardless of whether or not they have a live service attached. This is the primary reason why I do not think the games industry is going to collapse, despite various studios crashing and burning, and one of a few reasons as to why I have continued to develop Frontier's Reach as a franchise, despite making literally no money off of any of the games that I've released up to this point. I'm not in this for the one-and-done game releases. I'm in this for the long haul. Partly because I genuinely enjoy the craft of making games and sharing them with people who enjoy them. And partly because I want to evolve a game over time and not hinge its success and my efforts as a game developer on whether or not I made millions of dollars on a single release. So I don't think the games industry is going to crash, and it is definitely not going to experience a full-blown collapse. I will, however, absolutely make the argument that the industry as a whole is going through a broad paradigm shift that is drastically shaking up how studios make games and how gamers play those games. I fully expect over the next 10 years to see this trend continue, so much so that I will not be surprised if No Man's Sky achieves the infamous metaverse status well before anything that is currently being built by those making the concerted effort to build the metaverse itself.